Hello neighbor, this is Kurt at eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Thule WingBar Evo crossbar system on our 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Now if you have experience with Thule products or this particular rack, please leave a comment below. We do like to hear your experiences so that we can use that information to help other neighbors find exactly what they're looking for. And with that in mind, let's take a look at this roof rack. First, let's take a look at just how much room and capacity we're going to have up here with this system. Now, being a flush rail system, these towers are on a fixed mounting point, which means we can't move the bars back and forth to adjust the spread. So being as they are, we're going to have a crossbar spread, if we're going from the center of the T-track to the center, of 27.5 inches. At 27.5 inches, we're going to be able to accommodate just about any rooftop accessory you could put up here. The general spread that you want to aim for is somewhere between 24 and 30 inches. If you have that in your crossbar spread, the likelihood of you finding accessories to go up here just increased by that much. Now, as far as clearance goes, we want to get a measurement of exactly where we're going to be at or how much height this is going to add to the vehicle, just in case you come across a low clearance area. So from the roof to the top of the bar, we're going to add about 5¼ inches of height. And as far as clearance from the bottom of the bar down to the roof, we're going to end up with about 3¾ inch of clearance. So if you have a working sunroof up here, you want to know what that clearance is to make sure if that's still functional. Also bear in mind, if you have a working sunroof, any clamp style that we put on here might add a little bit of, or might take away rather, a little bit of the space that you have under here as well. Now these crossbars have a 165-pound weight capacity. That is pretty average, pretty common for these type of bars. However, you always want to check your owner's manual to make sure that your roof capacity is also at least 165 pounds. If your roof capacity is less than 165, that's the capacity we'll have to pay attention to. We have to follow whatever the lowest capacity item is. Now let's take a look at exactly what kind of things we might use this for. So this is an overhanging roof rack system, meaning that the bars actually come out beyond the towers. This is going to help as far as rooftop capacity because we're able to fit more up here than we would with a flush bar system. Now, one of the things that people are often concerned about with an overhanging rack is, am I going to hit my head on anything when I get in and out of it? Well, with these 47-inch bars, you can see right here that it doesn't even come to the door threshold. I would say you're in no danger whatsoever of hitting your head on anything getting in and out of here if you have anything up on the roof. Now with that in mind, it is a taller vehicle, so let's take a look at what kind of reach that we're going to get from up here. Now I'm of basically average height, but as you can see, just standing in the doorway here, I might have a little bit of trouble reaching over because this is such a tall and wide vehicle. So for instance, if I have a roof box up here, a large capacity roof box that only opens from one side, I'm going to have a really difficult time reaching over and arranging anything or putting anything in or getting it out. But there's a solution for that we could show you right now. Let me introduce you to the Moki doorstep. This is a brilliant item that's really going to help us get high enough in order to reach our rooftop accessories. It works very simply. You open it up just like that. You're going to use the door loop in here to hook it onto, and it's going to create a step for you to reach higher up. Now this has a 400-pound weight capacity to it, and even though on this particular vehicle it is a little bit higher up, it's still manageable, and it'll allow me to be high enough to reach all the way across if I need to. So because of our overhang, we have the opportunity to put accessories if they're small enough, not just on the driver's side or the center, but we could line it up on the driver's side and on the passenger side as well. We have our key cores here that we could swap out again for the Thule one-key system and make sure everything gets keyed alike. And just one thing that I wanted to point out while we have it right up close on the tower here. So this custom mounting kit and the rubber foot pad here, it is designed to work on wider, taller, and thicker flush rails. So it's not always going to be perfectly flush. In the case of this vehicle, the 23 Grand Cherokee L, it is not very flush at all. You do see a lot of spacing under there. Now, this is on here very secure. It's not loose, it's not going anywhere, but it's not as clean of a look as some people might desire. Now, we mentioned the type of ways that you can attach your accessories to the bar. You can use a clamp style, of course, which essentially just grabs around the bar and latches on. We also have the rubber T-channel at the top that can also have accessories mounted to it as well. And it's very easy to access that. You can simply flip over the end cap here to get access to that T-channel. And this is great for a system like this too, because some systems where you might have to mount it towards the middle, you'd have to get all the way up and over in the roof in order to do that. Here, it's a little bit easier to take it just from the side. All right, so we've already got our crossbars mounted on the rear mounting points, but before we mount the front bars, let's go ahead and take a look at all of the components that are involved. First, we're going to end up mounting our custom fit kit to the roof, at which point to that we're going to attach our towers, which will then attach to the crossbar itself. Now, you want to assemble the towers in a way that they're essentially going to be clamping in as such to this bar. But before we do that and get up there on the roof and install our mounting kit, let's take a look at how we assemble the towers. The tower is going to have 5 basic components, and one of the great things about a Thule system is that they do a really good job of reminding you exactly what goes in first to last. So you'll see here they've got A, B, and C. This will only work if you put them on in that order. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my tower assembly, then I'm going to slide this through the bolt hole just like so. After I do that, I'm going to take our rubber foot pad and I'm going to mount that into the appropriate notches. And once I have this in place, it's actually going to lock that A component in. So once I have that all set, we're going to take part C. We're going to make sure that we put that through the slot. We're going to come down here to our bolt, and then we're going to take this piece here. Now, one end of this piece is threaded to this bolt. The other end is keyed to the Thule torquing tool that comes with your tower assembly. So once we thread that on, we're only going to thread it on just enough to get it to catch, because the tighter this goes, that's what we're going to use to tighten these clamps down. So we're going to leave them loose for now, just to make them easier to mount to our custom mounting plates. Now that we have our tower assembled, let's go up on the roof and get our mounting plates put on. So from up here, we're going to find ourselves with 3 different sets of mounting holes. The first set we're going to use on the front crossbars, the second set on the back crossbars. The third set is really only to be used in conjunction with the first set when you have a large rooftop basket or platform rack or anything that really takes up the entire roof. But since we're using the front ones, we're going to go ahead and use these 2 mounting holes here. We're going to position this so that the shorter part of the bracket is going over the rails and get those lined up with our bolt holes. And now we're going to thread in the first bolt. I'm going to do it by hand just to get it started. Now that we've got our bolts threaded in, you may have noticed that I left them a little bit loose. And the reason for that is because these mounting brackets are slotted, which makes it a lot easier for us to find the correct position to put those bolts through. But we do want to make sure that we're very careful to be exactly parallel with what we have on the other side of the vehicle. That way we can ensure that the crossbar is going directly perpendicular across the rails. So I left it a little bit loose. What I'm going to end up doing is sliding it all the way to the most forward position, because this is going to help increase our crossbar spread between the front and the back bar. On the back bar, we actually slotted the bolts so that they'd be as far back as possible, thus increasing our spread. It's only going to be a total of about a ½ inch, but it will help us with some of our rooftop accessories as far as finding things that are compatible. Now that we have it slid all the way forward, we're going to go ahead and tighten them down completely. Now that we have our custom landing pads on the vehicle, let's take a look at how we're going to attach the crossbar to our towers. Now, the towers have one real adjustment point, which is this piece here that we added in that's going to work with our Thule torquing tool. When this gets adjusted, not only is it going to lock down the clamp over our landing pad kit, it's also going to tighten this piece to where the bar will not slide back and forth while we have it up on the roof. So, to talk about the bar itself, this is a 47-inch Thule WingBar. It is going to be both a channel mount or a clamp mount, and it is what's called an aero bar, meaning that it's got this more aerodynamic design, a little wider in the front to the back. This design is really going to help reduce road noise for you because it's much more aerodynamic than a round or square bar. And speaking of being able to clamp on or use this channel, the T-channel is accessible right through the end there, where you could set your accessories in through there without actually removing the bar. Now, let's talk a little bit about how we're going to get these mounted on here. The first thing we want to do is turn our bar over. Now that we have it over, we're going to go ahead to this tab here. We're going to depress that, and we're going to remove our end cap as such. Once that end cap gets removed, we're going to be taking our tower, turning it over, and you notice how there's a bit of a T-slot right here. We're going to go ahead and get that lined up and in right there. Now, one of the things that's really neat about Thule is they do help you measure a little bit how far you need it to go over. So you can use this here as a stop point for how far you want it to actually go in. Now that we have this on here, we're going to do the same process on the other side, replacing our end cap, and we'll get it up on the roof. Now, remember we left this particular piece here just barely threaded on loosely because we wanted to give ourselves as much slack here to get this mounted on our mounting plates here. So using this clamp, I've got it kind of held up with this kind of spread out. There's a cavity underneath this foot pad that's really going to fit very snugly over this foot get here. So we're going to go ahead and pop it on there, just like so. Now, we'll be able to tighten down the clamps by using this piece here. However, I also left it loose because it's also going to control how the bar itself is set. So for now, we're going to go ahead and get a measurement, make sure this gets even on both sides, and then we'll tighten this down and lock everything into place. Now that we've got our bar evenly spaced, we are clamped on to our mounting plates, we're going to go ahead and use the Thule torquing tool to tighten everything down completely. This will keep your clamps from coming loose, and it'll keep your bar from sliding back and forth as well. Now what you're going to hear is a loud pop when we have this torqued enough. And there it is. Now that we have that done, we'll go ahead and replace our tower cover, just like so. And we're going to use this right here to lock the cover on. Now, for now, we could just use a simple flathead. However, what I would suggest for the security of your crossbar system is that you replace this with key cores and locks. Thule has a one-key system where you can purchase several lock cores, all keyed to the same key. You can use it to swap out for these on your towers to keep your rack from being stolen. You could also use it on a lot of the rooftop accessories that Thule offers in order to key them all the same and keep everything nice and secure for you. But now that we have all that set, we're going to give this a really good shake test, make sure everything's on there solid, everything feels great. Now we're ready to mount our rooftop accessories and hit the road. So all in all, I think the Thule WingBar Evo system is great for the 23 Grand Cherokee L. It provides a lot of bar space for us to mount several accessories up there. It has a slight overhang, which keeps a little bit more of a streamlined look at it. I also want to mention too that these are 47-inch bars. You can fit a 50-inch bar up here and still not have enough overhang to really be in danger of hitting your head on anything. So if you need the extra bar space, you can look into a 50-inch set of bars on here as well. Now, one downside to this system is that it's not as easy as other systems to remove the bars when you're worried about a low clearance area, or perhaps you want to run it through an automatic car wash. When you remove the bars on this Thule system, you'll remove the tower and the bar itself. It does leave the brackets for the landing pads up here. It's not a very clean or finished look at all. You can, of course, remove those as well if you were worried about how that looked, but that just creates a bit more work for you. There are other systems on the market that actually will have caps that will help hide that. But other than that, Thule is a really, really recognized, really trusted brand name in all sorts of different rooftop accessories and crossbar systems. So I would say that this is a great crossbar setup for this vehicle. Once again, this is Kurt at eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.